Hey everyone, it's Stephanie with Big Dog Mom. Happy Friday. All right, so we are just getting everything cleaned up here. Okay, so if you are new to Big Dog Mom, you have come to the right place. So Big Dog Mom is a blog and brand dedicated to large and giant breed dogs and really providing information and resources that help big dog owners take better care of their dogs. So that's my goal always with every live stream, every blog post, everything that I do is really with that mission in mind. Today, we are going to be talking about buying a puppy, but really, how do you identify and how do you find a great breeder? And I feel like I have been blessed with two of the most magnificent big dogs in the world, and that didn't happen without some sense of, what I was looking for, knowing what questions to ask, etc. So we're going to talk about really my 5 big tips for people that are looking for a puppy and that want a purebred puppy specifically, and what questions they need to ask. So my 5 tips, basically, things that I've learned along the way that have enabled me to now, I would say, have the 2 best dogs in the entire world. That hasn't always been the case. I've had my share. Sully, you're stepping on the microphone, you knucklehead. Here, hold on. Okay, there we go. And hopefully everybody can hear me. Good morning, Faye. So let me know if the sound is wonky or what have you, and I will try to fix that. But nonetheless, so these are kind of my 5 tips. And I think, if you've got any questions, definitely, shoot them in the comments. I can see them come up. And then I've got just a few things to share with you, and welcome to answer any questions that you have as well. One thing I will say on the outset of this conversation is with respect to adoption, and I'm not going to go into a great amount of detail, but I do anticipate that because in the past, whenever I've brought up the topic of buying a puppy, I have felt like some people respond to that concept of buying a puppy with antipathy and with basically, the concept that I should be promoting adoption versus buying a puppy. I have so many blog posts on Big Dog Mom about that specific topic. And what I am not saying in this conversation is that you should buy instead of adopting. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if you want a purebred dog, I think there are smart ways to go about finding a great breeder of that purebred dog. Or if you choose to adopt a purebred dog from a shelter, by all means, go at it. That's perfect. But if you want, like I did, I have preferred to buy a puppy from a dog breeder. That has been my choice so far. That doesn't mean to say that I won't adopt in the future, because I likely will when I don't have children in the house. So, but for now, that's the topic of this conversation. So hopefully I will head off any nasty comments about adopt, don't shop, and all of that stuff. So anyway, okay, so here are my 5, well, let me take that back. So I have one other piece of housekeeping. I always have a couple of housekeeping things. So the first one is I do have, obviously a blog post, an extensive blog post that goes along with this Facebook Live. And that blog post, the link is in the description. The second thing I will tell you, and I'm just going to pull something up here so that you guys see it, and that is that. And that is basically just a 1-page downloadable that gives you about 40 questions to ask as you're interviewing dog breeders. And so this is an extensive list that goes into 7, they're lumped into 7 big categories that I outline in the blog post. But this is just a really nice formatted way for you to just take that 1-pager and go through and interview breeders. Hey, Junju, you guys stay here. Come here. And so here is the link to that. And so that is bigdogmom.com/dogbreederquestions. And so all of the questions are actually in the blog post, but not in a format that's easily, printed and downloaded. So I wanted to provide that for you. Okay. So, and I'll show that to you again at the end, but it's just bigdogmom.com /dog breeder questions. Okay, so the tips. All right, so here are our 5 tips, and I have 10 screens going here. So we are going to try. Oh, hold on. All right. Now I think we're good. Okay. Sorry about that. I thought I was recording, and of course I wasn't. The first tip. So, research. And this one is really kind of the first place you start. So if you are looking for a great dog breeder and, you don't really know where to start, this is kind of where I would say big bucket item is research. There's tons of places you can look. My biggest thing is, narrow your search down. So you kind of cast a wide net, and then you narrow it down to about 3 to 5, I would say, dog breeders that you are most interested in. And so the biggest caveat to this is, so know the worthiness of the sites where you're looking. So if that is Craigslist, that's probably not where you want to go to find a great dog breeder. I don't know of any great dog breeders, and I know many. Hey, you have to stay here, Jewel. Come here. Am I boring you? I don't know of any great dog breeders that advertise on Craigslist. Not one. And so I could be wrong. Maybe I'll have some breeders that respond to this and say, well, actually, so I could be corrected, but I don't think so. So the places I would go to search for great dog breeders would be, dog shows. If you are looking for a puppy, there's probably no better place. And they may not be super willing to talk to you, but you can at least get the program guide, the guide of all the dogs in the show. You can buy that at the dog show. And you can research, kennel names and, of dogs that you see. You can kind of observe the ring. Most times people are willing to talk to you. So I think that's one of the best places to go. But I would also recommend highly, and I have links in my blog post about this, is national breed clubs. Because most breed clubs have a list of breeders that, now it's not to say that all of them would be considered reputable, but it's a place to start. And then I would say like breed Facebook groups and that sort of place, like those, if you're observant and resourceful, you can, like I said, just pay attention to the information that breeders are posting and talking about. I think there's a lot that you can glean just from their character. And so when I was searching for both of my dogs, I definitely took that into consideration, is just kind of paying attention to what those breeders were saying and doing online. And like I said, at dog shows offline. So Junior, I have just completely bored him with tip number 1. So anyway, Sully is still hanging. So maybe you'll see him in just a second. All right. So the second tip. So know your priorities. So this just goes back to kind of know what you're looking for. I would say if I was calling a dog breeder and I just said, hey, I'm looking for a puppy, that's pretty vague. And that doesn't really show the breeder that you are serious and that you know what you're talking about, that you are informed about the breed that you're looking for. It just really doesn't give that breeder any sense of who you are and whether they should trust you, because a reputable breeder is going to be thinking those thoughts. They're going to be thinking, well, this person doesn't seem like they're very educated and they don't know what they're talking about. And they're very vague. So they don't really know what they're looking for. And that doesn't give the breeder a lot of trust in you either. So I would say, know what you're looking for. So are you looking for a male or a female puppy? Are you wanting to show, or are you just looking for a pet? What do you want to do with your puppy? So if you're, set on a therapy dog, or you are somebody that needs a service dog for something, then, those are specific needs that you have. And so going to a dog breeder and saying, hey, I am looking to, train my first therapy dog. I've always wanted to volunteer at children's organizations and teach children to read. And I would love to have my puppy and my dog come with me to that end and to help children read. So, I mean, that's just one example, but just know what you're looking for. Be specific with those, with kind of your priorities. And I'll put the second one on here. Sorry about that. And then set high expectations. So I think, I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, whether I actually get my dog certified to be a therapy dog, that is something I'm looking for, that type of temperament. And so that gives a breeder a little better understanding as to kind of the temperament to look for, and whether, you'll be a good fit for a future litter that they have, or maybe a litter that they have currently on the ground. So, I would say just the more specific you are, the better on that front. So kind of know what you're looking for. And then the third tip that I have is trust but verify. And this one I have learned the hard way, I will be honest. So over the last, 30 some odd years and beyond that, because I grew up with Great Danes and other large breed dogs, because my mom showed dogs and bred one litter of Irish setters when I was very young. So, but in my adult life, I have learned this tip the hard way. And so what I will say is that, trust is important, but it has to be earned. And so I have had situations, and I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but I've had situations where I did trust somebody. There were a million red flags. I assumed the best when I probably shouldn't have. And so I would urge you to have high expectations with what you expect of your dog breeder, because a reputable dog breeder will meet you right there, and they will understand why you want verification, why you want documentation, why you want videos of the puppies as they're being raised, excuse me, and why you want proof of whatever it is that they're telling you. So I'll give you one quick example. So in one of the situations that I personal experience was, numerous times I had asked the question, puppies were on the ground and I was, a number in line, going to be getting one of these puppies. And I asked numerous times, so right around the time that the puppies were about 6 weeks of age, have they been temperament tested? And when are you going to temperament? Like a number of questions regarding temperament testing. And the response I got was, oh yeah, they've been they all passed with flying colors. And that phrase, they've all passed with flying colors, was said numerous times. And the whole time I was thinking in my head, I really wish I had some assurance that this was happening, but I should probably just trust her. A well-known breeder, lots of dogs in the ring. There was enough there that I said, well, I'm probably the one being a little unreasonable and expecting too much. But I will tell you, I wasn't, and I should have listened to my gut. So, again, I'm not going to go into a ton of detail on that, but just know, trust needs to be earned. And I think a reputable breeder will provide you any and all, information, videos. If you want to see as the puppies are being raised, I don't think that's unreasonable. And the more communication, the more that breeder is willing to be just 100% transparent with you about the way the puppies are raised, what health testing has been done, all of those sorts of things, the more you're going to be able to trust them. And I think that goes a long way. That if I feel like there's open lines of communication, then I'm less likely to be untrusting of that person. And so I do think you need to trust your gut to a large extent, but have high expectations, because I don't think asking for documented health testing, documented if there are temperament tests that are done, I would ask for videos. And that is my standard, that either I personally come and temperament test the puppy that I'm going to buy, or that I want to see it on video. And crying out loud, I've got like 5 videos going right now. So there's an easy way to video. If I can do it, a breeder can do it. So I would just say, have high expectations, trust your gut. If there are any red flags, if that breeder in any way is defensive about your questions, and if they're reasonable questions, so use that guide that I provided, so the 40 questions guide, and none of those questions are unreasonable. Use that as your guide and Trust me, trust your gut. Okay, so fourth tip. And if there are any questions, you guys just shoot them in the comments and I will be sure to answer them. Okay, so number 4. So welcome a cross-examination. And this goes both ways because a reputable breeder is going to ask you just as many questions as you are asking him or her. And that is as it should be, because if that breeder, and I say this from personal experience, after 2 minutes on the phone, the very first time you're talking to that breeder, if they say, oh no, I trust you, that's a red flag. That person shouldn't trust you. Why should they trust you? They don't know you from Adam. So, welcome a cross-examination. I have, for both Sully and Junior, filled out extensive puppy questionnaires, and I was happy to do so. And I think that shows that the breeder cares, is, somebody that backs up their puppies and is going to be there for you. If they're requesting all of this information about you, that means they care where their puppies are going. It's the person that is willing to hand you over a puppy after 2 minutes on the phone. That's the breeder that's not going to be there for you when you need them. And I can tell you that from personal experience. So, make sure that you welcome that you don't get defensive. So it goes both ways. You should be an open book, as that breeder should be an open book, because the puppy deserves that. I mean, so I think, and maybe I should have started with this. I think at the end of the day, that's our priority, right? I mean, our little puppies that we're going to be caring for the next, hopefully 10 plus years, they deserve you and that breeder being a partner in this relationship. And so that's really how I look at buying a puppy. It's not a commodity, and I've written about that extensively on my blog. Puppies aren't a commodity. They are a living, breathing, being that deserves the as much or more, not as much, more attention and seriousness as you would buy any other, major purchase or decision in your life. So a new job, moving, where your kids go to school. I mean, I kind of talked about this in the blog post. I just would say, be serious about it because the puppy deserves that. And so anyway, just be an open book. So during these dog breeder interviews, you hopefully, and if you don't, you need to walk away. But hopefully that conversation will be both directions, where the breeder is asking you tons of questions and you have your 40 questions as well ready to go. Okay, so number 5, the 5th and final tip I have, is be willing to walk. And I have a funny story about this, but I'm hoping that this will make a lot of sense, maybe hopefully make you laugh, but it is something that I feel like there's a correlation between the two. But this is what I mean by be willing to walk. So essentially, when you go into these discussions, especially if there are puppies on the ground, and even more so if you're doing a home visit, which I talk about in the blog post. If you're doing a home visit and there are puppies there live, where you're sniffing puppy breath and you're getting like drunk on puppy breath, because it happens. It's like, it should be like a clinical thing because it really is true. I have been there, where you just want to take that puppy home with you. And it doesn't matter what the breeder says. It doesn't matter that there's no health testing. It doesn't matter any of this stuff because you just want that puppy so bad. And so you have to go in to these conversations, especially where there are puppies on the ground, being willing to walk away, being prepared to walk away. And that's really hard. It's probably one of the hardest things that a dog lover can do. But it is important. And, so here's what I mean by that. Just don't allow yourself to feel obligated to any breeder or any puppy. After Linus, and I was getting Sully, but then after Sully, we had decided we wanted to get another puppy. So I'm kind of backtracking. So after we had Sully, and when we were looking for Junior, there were 2 separate litters with puppies on the ground where I passed up a puppy. And where in both cases, I was pretty sure I was getting one of either of these at 2 different times. So it was over the course of about a year, might have even been longer, where I had two breeders that I had been, interviewing, all good things. And I am now still friends with both breeders, but I did pass on their puppies. And quite honestly, I think everything would have worked out had I chosen to take either one of those breeders' puppies. But I wasn't 100% sure. I felt like it was a risky decision for a number of reasons. Probably just me being untrusting given my past history. But what I will say is that I walked away from two separate litters on the ground and specific puppies within those litters. The first one was because the puppy sort of failed in my eyes from what I could glean, being a long distance online kind of relationship and what I gathered, failed the temperament test right at the very end. And I just had decided that I'm not going to take a chance. And so I passed on that puppy, who is now a magnificent dog. And I have some regrets, but not really, because now I have Junior, and I wouldn't have Junior if I had that other puppy. So it's hard to say I have regrets, but nonetheless, probably would have worked out. But the temperament test was a big deal. And in the other situation, it was kind of along the same lines. So here's my funny story to kind of close out our little Fun Friday Facebook Live. And that is buying a car. So when I talk about being willing and prepared to walk away. So my husband was looking for a truck for ages, months and months and months, hours of research, just every night looking for this car or this truck. And so finally he found kind of what he felt like. And in his heart, he was like, I think this is the one. So we went up and test drove. It was about an hour away. Took the family, so both kids took the family, went and test drove this truck. And I could just tell that he loved this truck. And so we had decided, though, before we went in to have this conversation with the car dealer guys, that, I was going to be a kind of part of the negotiation. And I have a history of being in sales. And so I thought, well, I'll just play the bad cop, and then I'll try to get us a better deal, because car dealers are always salespeople. They're always trying to get you. So basically, so we went into this negotiation. So we're all sitting around the table, and, of course the manager ends up coming over, and they're, putting the paper in front of us. This is the best deal we can do. This is what we can do your trade in for. And so I was just bad cop all the way. And I was like, giving them all these reasons, trying to just basically negotiate. But my bad cop basically turned into, we were either going to walk and leave and not buy the truck unless they sort of accommodated our sort of compromise. And at the end of the day, they weren't going to compromise. They were sort of playing my bluff, but we basically left. So here's the point of the story. So we left, and the whole hour-long drive home, I felt so bad. I could just see the pain in my husband's eyes. Like, he was like, that was my baby, and you told me I couldn't get my baby, and you kind of ruined it. And he, of course, did not say that. But in the end, I was just trying to negotiate. I was trying to just make sure that we were making the right decision, but then also to get the best deal we could and not be taken. It was kind of the way I saw it. Nonetheless, it was like within hours of when we left, he got a call from the dealer, and the next day they struck a deal that was way better than what we would have had. And so, I say this funny story just to say, be prepared to walk. And a lot of times that works out in your favor. As I said, there were 2 times when I walked away from puppies on the ground and breeders that were great breeders, but just situations where in my gut it didn't feel right. And now I have Junior. And so it always works out. And you're never going to have regrets if you follow your gut and you do everything you can to make the right decision. I mean, and in the end, there is a fair bit of trust that goes along with this, but I would say, you gotta be willing to walk away. And so where, I talk about on the blog and in prior posts about puppy powers, and that, they really are super puppies, because you just get sucked in, and it doesn't matter what the person says or doesn't say, the breeder, I mean, because you just want that puppy. And so you have to go into buying a puppy and interviewing dog breeders with this in mind, being very sort of, non-emotional. And that's really hard to do. So that's my goal here today, is to kind of educate and to have, these are 5 simple tips that I've learned along the way of, buying several, Mastiffs would be my breed, but other breeds as well, because we had a Labrador, and went through a similar process with him as well. And so I know enough breeders to know what good looks like and what good doesn't look like. And so that's my goal. And I will say in the end that we have more educated puppy buyers out there that, now we don't need as many dogs being rescued. And so kind of full circle from what I said at the very beginning. And that is, we need to be as serious about this as our puppies are. And so if we go into it thinking, this is a commodity and I just want to buy a puppy because I want a puppy, that's not the right attitude, I don't think. And that's the kind of attitude that ends up when things get tough and the puppy starts peeing and pooping all over the floor and starts biting or maybe even growling at people. You go through fear periods, which I've talked about on the blog before. You go through tough times, and then that owner who really was making an emotional decision is not quite prepared or willing to accept the responsibility. So my goal is to head that off with these 5 tips, hopefully have helped. I'm going to give you this other really quick thing just in the end before we close out. And I have all these little windows to close down here, which seems easier than said than done. There we go. So bigdogmom.com/dogbreederquestions. And that's where you can go to kind of get the list of questions. I hope this was helpful. I feel like I'm always just rambling a little bit. But hopefully you will consider sharing this with a friend. Again, the full blog post with tons more information is on bigdogmom.com, and the link is in the description. So if you have any questions, if you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much for sticking with me, and definitely come on back. I am here every Friday for a live stream. I'm trying to do every Friday at 10 a.m. So now it's 10 a.m. Pacific time. So everybody changed time zones except Arizona. So it's been 10 for me, but I know it's changed times a little bit for everybody else. So anyway, thanks so much for joining. You guys have a wonderful, happy Friday and a wonderful weekend. I will talk to you soon. Take care.